Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, late Friday night, the Michigan commitment sweatshirt comes back on. The first transfer portal edition of this window coming at the position we've been talking a lot about over the last couple of weeks. Former Indiana wide receiver Donaven McCulley committing to Michigan. We kind of talked about this for the last couple of weeks. There was buzz around at Oklahoma, kind of made a strong push at Donaven McCulley. Michigan able to get it done. Okay, we knew we wanted wide receivers. Okay, what kind of wide receiver did Michigan want to add? Sherrone Moore was very vocal about it in his press conferences. We got to get bigger at the wide receiver position, and we got to get a downfield passing attack going. I can't think of many better wide receivers than 6'5", 200-pound Donaven McCulley to kind of get that done. Dill, one of the things that excites me, and this is a conversation me and you have off camera a lot, is when you get fifth-year seniors in the transfer portal, often the question is, how much better can they get? Yes, Donaven McCulley on paper is a fifth-year senior. This was a guy that started off his college football career as a quarterback. He's still relatively new to the wide receiver position. So although a fifth-year senior, this is a guy that I think can get better than what we saw in 2023, where he kind of made his money, so to speak. 73 targets, 48 catches. Want to get into Donaven McCulley. We got to talk about the smoke around Billy Edwards as well. Now, before we get into it, as always, to the Michigan fans, for the boys, it's been a blast the last couple of weeks, a phenomenal last couple of weeks for us Michigan fans. Bryce Underwood beating Ohio State, getting active in the transfer portal. Y'all have shown a ton of support to the fellas. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let it fly in the comment section, Dill. I'm going to give you the T-box here. Donaven McCulley coming to Ann Arbor. How are we feeling?
And we've been talking, obviously, I certainly hope this isn't the last one, because you look like this Michigan wide receiver room, it needs to turn over quite dramatically, I think. And again, quarterback play certainly an issue, but the wide receiver play hasn't been good enough. I'd like to think now that Chip Lindsey is installed as the OC officially and they have that clarity, they can really start making some runs. Because I look like Donaven McCulley is the type of guy Michigan wanted, a bigger physical receiver for sure. But there's a lot of good wide receivers out there, and I'd be really disappointed to see if this was kind of the end.
I don't think we're stopping anytime soon. And Donaven McCulley, let's keep with Donaven McCulley, because I got a couple other quarterbacks that are wide receivers, that I want to talk about that Michigan's going after. Dill, we just talked late last night about Chip Lindsey and what he wants to do. Some of those wider splits, trying to get one-on-one matchups on the boundary. Average depth of target for Drake May in 2023 under Chip Lindsey, 11 yards, nearly double what the average depth of target was for Davis Warren. This, to me, I don't think it's a coincidence. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's not a coincidence that Donaven McCulley commits just 72 hours after the announcement that Chip Lindsey is taking over this offense, because I do think it's a really good fit in this Chip Lindsey offense. Dill, I'm just going to ask you a question. How many passes all year, Davis Warren, Jack Tuttle, Alex Orty, how many passes did Michigan complete that traveled over 20 yards on the year in 2024?
3.
Yeah, so that's a high. See, I would have thought it would have been at least like 50. It was 7. It was 7. I mean, that might be, outside of the military academies, the lowest number that I've seen from looking at the PFF data. This is a guy that's going to help you do that. He's a good fit with Chip Lindsey. He's exactly what we need in terms of attacking vertically down the field. And one of the things that I want to talk about is you're starting to see a trend. Like, what kind of wide receivers is Sherrone Moore and this Michigan staff going after in the transfer portal? It's guys who can work vertically down the field. So some of the public offers that I know Michigan has sent out, former Tulsa wide receiver Joseph Williams, 6'2", 200 pounds, as a true freshman at Tulsa last year, Dill, his yards per catch, 18.5. Average depth of target was 17 yards down the field. This is a guy that excels, working vertically down the field, bigger bodied boundary wide receiver. How about Reggie Virgil from Miami of Ohio? So another one of those guys, averaged 19.9 yards per catch, nearly 20 yards per catch. Reggie Virgil working vertically down the field on the boundary. And all these wide receivers that Michigan's going after, they're 6'2 plus. They're big bodies. They're big bodies that can work vertically down the field. One of the things we love about Bryce Underwood is his ability to push it down the field. You got to give him wide receivers who can do that. It is no secret that Michigan's going after those kind of wide receivers in this transfer portal window.
And they had to do it because, again, you want to be able to run what Chip Lindsey wants to run. You don't want to bring him in there to essentially be what Michigan was last year and maybe even the years before, where, again, like Michigan was obviously winning a lot of games, but it was never really a particularly explosive offense designed for your quarterback to really thrive at the highest level. I think when Sherrone Moore took that job, he did kind of make that a point. Like, I probably want to move this into like the 21st century, if you will, that offense to kind of talk about. So you look, they need to get the personnel in there. And again, I think it certainly allows you to attract better players at the wide receiver positions if you can start showing that, yes, this is a place you can come in and thrive, because it really wasn't the past handful of years.
We talked about this last night. One of the big, like, look, I trust Chip Lindsey as an offensive coordinator. Like, he's got a strong track record, a record of being a successful one. You don't want to fall into that trap that you saw Wisconsin fall into. And that is bringing a new offensive coordinator, but not giving him the adequate personnel to run his offense. You know, Chip Lindsey, again, it is a vertical passing attack when they want to throw the football. Not only do you need a quarterback who can get it down the field, you need wide receivers who can do it as well. You need bigger bodied wide receivers. And Billy, also, when you're working with potentially true freshmen starting next year, you want to make it as easy as possible on the kid. And guess what? You don't have to be perfect when you're thrown to a 6'4" wide receiver. And so I think you're kind of designing this off and say, hey, how can we make Bryce Underwood's life the easiest? Giving him some big catch targets. That's kind of what you're looking at. Dill, the other storyline emerging for Michigan today is we might have found our quarterback in the transfer portal. Former Maryland quarterback Billy Edwards entered the transfer portal, I believe, yesterday afternoon, was kind of immediately linked to this Michigan program. We've been talking about how Michigan is going to balance the quarterback room with Bryce Underwood coming in. We kind of acknowledged that it was going to be difficult to find a veteran quarterback that wants to come in and compete. Billy Edwards, to me, would be a perfect fit. This was a quarterback that, one, has been developed under Coach Loxley the last couple of years. Number two, was a pretty damn good, solid quarterback in the Big Ten last year at Maryland. This is a guy that would easily have started for Michigan in 2024 by a landslide. Getting a guy like Billy Edwards to come in and compete with Bryce Underwood, this would be, to me, a perfect fit for Michigan to go out and get.
I was kind of surprised they were able to land, if they are able to land, that is that type of guy, because I looked at it like, again, I think it's pretty clear, and I'm not saying they're just going to give Bryce Underwood the job, but he is the future. I mean, you look at where Michigan's going, they've kind of built this program around him, which, I mean, as a Michigan fan, like, hand up, that's what I'd want. It's so exciting to have that kind of guy coming through the pipeline, so I'm here for it. But with that, you certainly, again, didn't want the quarterback room to look like what it's going to look like, frankly, if they don't add that veteran piece.
Well, you saw
you really only have that true freshman that you kind of look at and be like,
you saw Jaden Denegal hit the portal, Alex Orji hit the portal today. And so I don't know what's going to happen with Davis Warren, but we kind of said we wouldn't be surprised if all three of them, Denegal, obviously Tuttle's out of eligibility, Denegal, Warren, and Alex Orji decides to all hit the transfer portal.
Even frankly, Jaden Davis, like, I'd love to see him stay. I think certainly that would be what all Michigan fans would want to see.
Agreed.
And at the end of the day, you look at what they kind of did to go get Bryce Underwood. It would not stun me in the least if he felt like there was a destination for him that made a little bit more sense. Because again, you kind of know the writing's on the wall. Bryce Underwood is probably not going to make it past his sophomore year without starting.
Yeah, and this allows you to have a quarterback that, like, if Bryce Underwood beats him for the quarterback one job out of camp, you know he's going to be good. Because Billy Edwards, in my opinion, is a damn solid quarterback. You look at some of Billy Edwards' numbers from Maryland last year. I was kind of doing a little prep on him. I mean, 2,800 yards, 65% completion percentage. Also a really good athlete. That might be something to add to, where we talked about this yesterday. Like, Chip Lindsey wants to get the quarterbacks involved in the run game. Billy Edwards and Bryce Underwood, they're both quarterbacks that can do that. So whether it's Billy Edwards, whether it's Bryce Underwood taking the snaps, the offense kind of stays the same, which is always important when you're trying to build a quarterback room. How many guys do you have the same skill set so the offense doesn't have to change if one of them's in and one of them's out? This one would make a lot of sense. It's a veteran presence that we need in this quarterback room. And it's, look, we said it was going to be hard to find because it's not
like a scrub either, because you look like Jacob Zeno's a solid quarterback for sure, but he's probably not really a power four starter, if you will. In Texas A&M, I think it makes sense, that type of fit. again, they're kind of in a similar situation. Obviously, Marcel Reed, a couple of years older than Bryce Underwood, but it was always going to be hard for them to go get a really attractive quarterback who could be serviceable as a starter if you needed him to be. I think Billy Edwards, again, is probably one of the rare few who I think, again, is he like a top tier starter in college football? Probably not, but he's certainly serviceable if you need him in certain moments. And again, you felt like that was just going to be hard for Michigan. So you'd certainly like to see him get that done.
You put Billy Edwards on that 2021 or 2022 team, they're making the playoffs. Like, he's better than Cade McNamara. I think we've seen that by far. And so you're getting a quarterback that can win you a lot of football games and provide that veteran depth that we need in our quarterback room. It'd make a ton of sense. Michigan getting active. We're just starting to get guys on campus. Having Chip Lindsey, now I'm excited to see where it goes. I wouldn't be surprised if Donaven McCulley was just saying, hey, I want to see what offensive coordinator you're bringing in. Oh, you're bringing in an offensive coordinator that's going to work the ball vertically down the field. Word. Where do I sign? That's what I think kind of just played out. I'm hoping it continues to play out that way.
Yeah, because you really hope the floodgates open, because as much as Donaven McCulley is a good player, I look like this is a really, really talented group of wide receivers, and there's some like big dogs who I think can come in and
this is such a good, lucky, however you want to say it. Michigan wants to get wide receivers in the portal. This is a great portal window to get wide receivers because there is a lot of really good wide receivers. We'll cut it there. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully y'all have a phenomenal Friday night. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.